A whole civilization will die tonight. Those are the words of Donald Trump. You know, the man who we all like to laugh at because he was some sort of stupid, clownish man. Well, it appears a case that this is not just some, orange man that we can mock and ridicule. He's actually very evil. In fact, this has been the case since his first term, but it is becoming more clearly evident now that this is not just some harmless egotist narcissist. This is a man who has the a chance, or rather, there is a possibility that he could do to Iran, which Israel has done to Gaza or to southern Lebanon. This man saw Gaza and did not see that as a war crime. In fact, he saw it as an inspiration, because for those who have been, who have not been following, it was Iran who originally agreed to the non-nuclear proliferation agreement under Obama, and it was Trump who ripped up those papers, leading to an Iran and freeing Iran from the restrictions of that nuclear enrichment plan. And so it was Trump who allowed Iran to do as they please, even though Iran has never decided to go ahead with the building of nuclear bombs, considering that the Ayatollah Khamenei, the late Ayatollah Khamenei, the leader of Iran that was assassinated by the US, which has got us in this mess. This is the man who whilst you can, whatever you say about him, he had a fatwa, a religious edict to stop, to prevent, and to restrict the proliferation of nuclear weapons in Iran, which I think was not particularly a good thing to do, considering that the strongest deterrent to being bombed in the same way that Iran is being bombed right now is to have your own nuclear weapon. I mean, North Korea is not being bombed. Pakistan is not being bombed in the same way. It's a way to stop the bullies on the world stage, US, Israel, from doing as they please. Now, doing as they please is something that Trump would like to do to Iran. It just so happens that these psychopaths, Trump being the former best friend of the late Jeffrey Epstein. This man did as he pleased with with vulnerable underage girls. He did as he pleased with women and grabbing their pussy. He did as he pleased when it comes to breaking and tearing up any agreement with regards to reduction of fossil fuel consumption. And therefore doing as he pleased with the destruction of the planet. Now he's doing as he pleased with the bombardment, the destruction. Now, quite clearly, genocidal language when he says that a whole civilization will die tonight, which means he's just a day before he was boasting about and threatening about bombing civilian infrastructure, and civilian infrastructure is basically the lifeline of a civilization, the lifeline of a population, of a people. And so he saw what's happened to Gaza, he saw what has happened to Lebanon, and wants to apply it to Iran. There's no other way to look at it. Why would you bomb the civilian infrastructure unless you thought your enemy was the entirety of the Iranian people? There is no other way to look at it, and it's the way that the right wing thinks too. I mean, I'm not going to disparage the entirety of the conservative or right wing movement, because people like Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson are evidently against the first of all the making another country great at the expense of your own country, which is absurd. It's a no-brainer. But also the sheer anti-human life policies pursued by Israel, and the US literally arming, supplying, facilitating, and complicit in the genocides that have been occurring. The sheer destruction of Gaza, the genocide, the very obvious genocide. It is as obvious, as clear as genocide can be. The intent is there, as spoken by officials. The intent and the intent is expressed in the way the IDF soldiers are very much, pretty much having a song and dance, bombing the whole of Gaza to smithereens. There's no video recorded by IDF of people engaged in a battle. There is no war there. It's a one-sided war of genocide. Trump has seen this. Trump has pretty much gotten very excited by the prospect of a much stronger power looking down on a much weaker adversary and just destroying the entirety. There's obviously for these psychopaths, for these people who are who have something wrong with them, and who are attracted to power like a moth to a flame. These people find some great deal of satisfaction from the exploitation of the vulnerable. This includes the bombardment of civil infrastructure. So, and furthermore, quite clearly, Trump has shown not only himself to be a genocideer, a pedophile lover, or a pedophile himself, somebody who doesn't respect women's rights, somebody who doesn't respect LGBTQ rights, doesn't respect the lives of black people, of people of non-white background. Trump has also shown himself to be somebody who's not particularly good military strategist to begin with. I mean, he thought that he could go into Iran, he could assassinate the leader and do away with the leadership of Iran in the same way that he did with Venezuela, and there would be no repercussions. It would just be easy can be, and then you can move on with other affairs. He can move on with the anti-trans or whatever. These psychopaths have strategized in their activities to gain and retain more power by playing politics with the lives of people. But clearly he, the war hasn't gone his way. He also clearly doesn't like that Iran have a more of a horizontal leadership in terms of, simply decapitating the snake, is something that he thought would lead to the snake dying. But of course, Iran is not a top-down kind of leadership. It's a more horizontal kind of way of governance, which means that simply because you're killing the leadership, the current leadership, doesn't mean there's not going to be anyone to take their place. Because you see, Iran has suffered, has experienced the duplicity of the American foreign policy. And so they know that the US has done this before and will do to them what they've themselves has experienced, but also do to them what Iraq has experienced, and do to them what Gaza and southern Lebanon has experienced by the world's most moral army. Of course, it's nothing of the sort. It's the opposite. But every accusation is a confession. Every lie is a way to build a fortress of fortress of justification for this racist ideology of Zionism, racist ideology of white supremacy, which Trump is quite clearly a fervent supporter of. And that's where we are right now. You've got an incompetent leader who has no business becoming the president of America in the first place, has been impeached twice. This is a president who, of course, yes, it's easy for these for milquetoast liberal centrist Democrats to to say, oh, this man, he fumbles his words, or says really dumb things and stupid things, and or he lies day to day. The real crux of the issue is his fundamental way of looking at the world, how he has a way of us versus them, of the super rich exploiting the vulnerable, the working class. But the thing is, these centrist, the Democrats, or people who call themselves soft left, or the thing is, they don't want to criticize Trump for his complete lack of connection to reality, because it means addressing an argument, addressing a criticism of Trump, which is progressive, universalist, is pro-working class, and is pro-human rights. And that is not what centrists are, the liberals, the liberals on CNN or BBC News are all about. They're about maintaining the status quo. And if the status quo has, inequalities built into it, is a bit racist, is about a bit Western supremacist, it's about, us versus them, then obviously they wouldn't veer that far into making criticism of Trump. They would rather focus on the aesthetics of Trump, the lies, the way he speaks, the way he wears orange tan, the way he's uncouth. But really, we should look at things more at a fundamental level. But yes, Trump, I can't believe it, but I shouldn't really be surprised. Trump is threatening a genocide against Iran, a 5,000 plus year civilization, older than any civilization in the Middle East, by far. It's older than the Abrahamic religions. It's older than, it's old. And he threatens the complete destruction in the same way that he, just as, he would, pass a fart. He thinks that life is such that you can just press a button and you can snuff it out like that, just like that. This is a man who obviously has cut off any kind of protection for the environment, protections for stopping for the release of combustion fuel, pollution. This man doesn't care about anyone, and the civilization, the human civilization in general. He only cares about himself. And we saw that, when he was talking to the crew of Artemis, it was all about him. And that's what it's all about. These people are psychopathic. These people don't care about human progress, human development. These people are, about defending themselves, defending their own country, but really not the people of the country. Because, of course, we saw that Trump has put in and is due to be passed, but he has commanded that the military budget increases whilst there are domestic cuts to his own country, his own people. It's not his own people, because he doesn't care about the people of America, but it's about serving the needs and the desires of the super rich. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.